Hello, everybody. Welcome to the National Real Estate Post. Frank Ray here at the house because I have Tesla installing solar panels on my roof right now, and this is why I have my dog with me, so he doesn't make a lot of noise. This is Getty Lee Garay, and some of you are hip to that, some of you are not. For those that are, leave a comment down below. Here with Barry Habib,
hey.
Of course, and we're going to get started here in just a second. But before we do, Barry's got to remind everybody, renovation loans should be in your toolkit if you are a loan officer. Remen will help you become an expert at that. They handle everything. They make it very easy and they also have marketing material so you can get more business.
They've got great stuff. They've got great stuff.
They're awesome. And so click the banner you see right here on the screen. It's over on your right, or it's right below, or there's a link on Facebook around here somewhere. Get started with Remen and renovation loans. You really need to do that. So let's go ahead and get started, Barry.
Well, hold on a second. You're boring Getty. He's yawning here. Will you give him something? All right.
It's bad. By the way, staying right here.
Let's make it known that Getty likes me more than Roxy likes you.
Oh, Roxy does not like me. That dog. I'm like, hi, Roxy. He's like, ha, ha, ha.
Actually, she really does like you. She just had to get used to you. That's all.
Not like me. Anyway, we're going to talk first a little bit about the market because it's been a little topsy-turvy. You wanted to talk about some stuff that happened yesterday because this is being released the day after we recorded it, so it'd be today for us, but yesterday for the viewers. And then we want to talk a little bit about some first-time homebuyer stuff that you want.
Oh, this is big. This is really big.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and take it away. I'll mute myself so the Tesla guys don't make too much noise. I'll mute myself, but take it away and I'll jump in as needed.
Okay. So, hey, everybody. So first of all, want to talk to you about what's going on in the marketplace. We know the rates have gone up a little bit, but there is a little bit of good news. So the 10-year Treasury note auction, which is something that's important, went off really well today. Now, this was important. We were watching this closely because with yields in the mid-180s on the 10-year, we wanted to see, is that bringing out some appetite? And it sure did. A lot of people were interested in purchasing, so the auction went very well. Now, we were concerned about that because at these elevated levels of yield, if people weren't interested, well, then you could say that they thought that yields might go higher towards 2%, but at this level, they came out in droves buying as if it was a bargain, which means that a lot of the smart investors out there are kind of feeling that this is a good level they wanted to take advantage of because they feel that yields will decline. I think that they're right. I think that we will see a decline in yields. Now, a couple of interesting things just quickly to mention. You know, I've talked about a potential recession in 2020. I've been saying that for 2 years, that 2020 looks to me like a recession. I just want to tell you that there's some interesting things afoot. So you might say, hey, look, unemployment's low. It just started to tick up. You might say, well, the stock market's at really high levels. Profits are declining. What we see here for the stock market is what's called multiple expansion. In other words, if you base it on the profitability, stock prices should be declining, but investors are trying to throw money at it so much that they're giving higher valuations, more of a multiple based on the price to earnings ratio. And that's what you're seeing here. So this is historically a sign that you are nearing, not saying when, a market top. But really interesting, last week, the Atlanta Fed and the New York Fed cut their fourth quarter estimates for gross domestic product to be in half. So we're talking about like 0.8%. So remember, GDP was over 3%. Everybody's, hey, it's great. Then 2.5%, okay. 2%, 1.9% was the third quarter. Now calling for the fourth quarter GDP to be less than 1%. And if you go by the very smart folks over at the Cass Freight Index, they think GDP might be negative in the fourth quarter. So what does this all mean for us? Let's be careful personally, but also business-wise. If we do see signs of or approaching a recession, maybe a stock market that corrects, that's going to be good news for interest rates. That means that rates could drop rather significantly as we head into this. So let's just be mindful of that. And of course, Frank, you and I will talk about this and we'll keep people posted on it. Now, I know you wanted us to talk a little bit about some of the demographics, right? So I don't know if you want to tee it up based on some of the things you're hearing. Let's talk. I've got some charts to show people that are really awesome.
Go for it.
So here's the thing. We know that one of the really important ways to see what's going to happen in the future is to look at demographics. And any good business wants demographics. And you as a mortgage or real estate professional need to understand what the demographics looks like. Now, there was just some recent data that you guys commented on saying that, hey, it looks like a lot more first-time home buyers will be coming in. It looks like an influx over the next 3 years. people have been talking about that. But as you know, Frank, about 2 years ago, we talked about this on your show. And I'm going to show the same charts we showed 2 years ago, of course, updated. And I remember sitting with you in Boston, and Brian was blown away when he saw this. So let's go over this together real quick. So Frank, what we have here is the chart that we're talking about here. And what I'd like to show you is that this is birth rates. So you go all the way back, 1920s here, the silent generation. Here's your baby boomers, zoom. Here's your Gen Xers, here's your millennials, and then somewhere in here is where Getty was born. So now what we have is because we look at the birth rates here, we have ways that we can kind of determine what our future looks like, much like when the baby boomers were up and coming, why businesses started to do well at different points of the baby boomer cycle. Well, if we understand that according to Zillow, the median age of a first-time home buyer is 33 years old, then all we need to do is go back 33 years ago. So today we're in 2019, that means 1986. Let's look at the birth rates from 1986. And that was right here. 33-year-olds today were born right here in 1986. Now, Frank, do you notice something that happened shortly after 1986 to the birth rates? Looks like romance must have been in the air, my friend. So, must have been all of that Rock of Ages type music that got people in the mood. And what we see here is that birth rates skyrocketed over the next 6 years. So what this tells you is this is done, okay? You can't undo what those folks did. These people were born and they're coming, which means over the next 6 years, every single year, just like a staircase, you will see more and more and more and more and more first-time home buyers coming into the marketplace, which will put more pressure on the amount of homes that are available. Already, levels of inventory are tight, especially if you take a look at median home price levels and below. That market is very tight. It's going to become even tighter, which will push prices higher. Now, I want to show you a couple of things here. So what's very interesting about this chart is you might notice this hole in the birth rate. So do you see that, Frank? You see where they really dropped, okay?
Yeah.
Now, we know why they dropped. Well, it's interesting because if you take a look at the housing bubble, it corresponds exactly to this. We know that home prices started to have problems beginning 2006, late 2006. So let's do the math again. 33 years before 2006, do the math, that's 1973, and that was right here. Right. Look at the huge drop, Frank. Why did birth rates drop so much in 1973, you might ask? Well, some people might say it was birth control, but birth control was 1960. And you can see this is the effect of birth control, really curbed the baby boomer. But this was the Supreme Court in January of 1973, voting saying that abortion was now legal. Birth rates dropped off the cliff and stayed down for a while until another Supreme Court ruling on Casey in Texas caused abortions to be a little bit more restricted, and birth rates began to rise again. Now, what's very interesting about this is you have abortions begin in 1973, and 33 years later, you have yourself a housing bubble. Now, there are other factors, of course, we know that contributed all the crazy mortgages that were done, but this exposed them all, was there were just not enough people to buy. And it's really highlighted when we take a look at the very next chart, right, which shows you this is households being formed in blue. That's people that move out of mom and dad to either buy a place or rent a place. This household being formed. And the gold bars are people who are builders putting up homes. And as you can see, 2002, somewhat close, 2003, especially in 2004, 2005, it was kind of close. But 2006, look at the disparity. You see, builders did not look at what the birth rates were 33 years before. They were greedy. They started building like crazy. And then the effect of abortion becoming legal and lower birth rates from 33 years ago shows up right here. Now, this is a hand in glove. Do you see this pattern here? It matches exactly this pattern. It is a hand in glove. You cannot play with this, okay? Those people are born, they're coming. And what you will see, Frank, is notice the blue line of household formations. Why is the real estate market so hot, especially at the entry level? It's because households are being formed, but builders are not putting up enough homes to be able to satisfy that demand. Over demand, under supply causes prices to rise. That's why that side of the market's so hot. Now, guys, let's look at this here. Frank, we said before when we looked at this chart and we said, okay, whoops, forgive me here. We looked at this and we said, here's where we are today. 33-year-olds born today are here. What happened for the next 6 or 7 years? Huge skyrocket in the number of births, which will result in, if we go forward here for the next 7 years, what will happen to this blue line?
It'll
This
go
blue
up.
line has to go up, 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 up. And if builders are not going to keep pace with that, you're going to continue to see pressure on prices to the upside. Now, you and I have talked about this. When you want to talk about how good is the housing market, almost universally, and we have data from every single market, every single county, and we're even drilling down now soon to be zip code in the United States. When we look at this, I can tell you almost anywhere. If you said, how's the housing market? I'll say, tell me what the price is. If you go to about median home price, a little bit above median home price and lower, it is on fire. Good luck finding a home. The further up you go for median home price, the slower the market will be. And that's essentially what the housing market looks like today.
I got to tell you that I have not seen anyone anywhere lay that out like that in the media, you know, or anywhere, you know, and it's fascinating. It's so cool that you were able to put all that together and lay it out like that. And it makes just such perfect sense. Very, very interesting stuff, Barry. I appreciate you.
Nice. But we have to know our demographics, and it paints a very optimistic picture, especially if you're working with a home buyer who's a little skittish, who's a little worried. And look, if a recession does come, one of the other things we talk about is how have home prices behave during recessions. They do well. You and I have discussed this many times. Home prices do well due to the fact that interest rates decline rather dramatically during these recessionary periods. Money comes out of the stock market into bonds. You have governments reducing rates. Times are slower, less inflation. Interest rates come down more. And they've got a lot of room to come down. Believe it or not, still, they will. But the thing of it is, team, is that if that does occur, yes, one of the problems with a recession is people lose their jobs. They're not going to be buying homes. But more people who are now able to purchase a home due to lower interest rates overwhelm that number. There is more people coming in than are unable to buy a home. And that's why real estate does well during recessionary periods.
All right. Well, I've got a big drill going up on the roof. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but it's pretty
Like
noisy.
in a dentist's office there.
I know. Could you imagine? Anyway, hey, man, I'm going to get out of here. Barry, I can't thank you enough. That is awesome, awesome information. I'm going to tell you guys, stay in tune with what's going on in the market. Get MBS Highway if you don't have it already. There's a link down below where you can get a free trial of it. You got to do it. Barry talks to you every single day. I see him talking to me every single day. That's how I knew things were going on in the market. So be sure to do that. But great information. I'm sure you guys can take that and run with it and use this with your clients, et cetera, explaining what's going on. But super stuff. Appreciate it, Barry.
So good to talk to you always, Frank. Thanks, everyone. Hope you guys all are doing wonderfully.
All right. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Have a great one, and adios from the National Real Estate Post.
Adios.